Good afternoon.
Sir Cairo said the world has not had success in eliminating hunger around the globe, as international reports indicate that hunger rates have begun to increase over the past 3 years. Do you expect any new step after the US-Africa summit to be taken?
Mostly of experts see that is U.S.-African summit, which is taking place recently, reflects many important intentions, and I think reduction according whether the terms of relation between African countries and United States and in terms of different international competitions. For different reasons, as well as we see like the summit comes in the context of international competition and of major power to building stress economic and political and security partnership with the African countries. In addition, we as well as we can really see that the Chinese African summit and the Japanese African, another Indian one, and this Caribbean one, so which is all reflecting that this kind of the role of African Africa, which is many promising economic and investment opportunity with a huge, resourcing offering, and in light of the higher growth of the market, suppliers, which including like more than 1 million qualification of prominent position in the global economy. Maybe.
Yes.
So
Also,
there's more.
yes, please go ahead.
So.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
just there's four like major seek for increasing, cooperation with economic and investment aspect for the African countries, and the framework effort to achieving that. As well, we know like according to the COVID-19 crisis and the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, with negatively impact on Egypt here and all African countries too.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Also, Caro called for easing the burden for the African nations suffering from the climate change reason, for which is the developing nations that came through writing off or swapping the external debts or easing the repayment. Yeah. How do you expect the developing nations to respond to that?
As well, we just mentioned like there's a different kind of aspects according to what is the reflection could have according to the summit, because as well as we figure out the Mr. President Biden promising with during the summit could offering different opportunities more than 55 billion over 3 years to African concentration, and to rebuilding the trust between the side of American administration and African countries. And there's the funds would be like directed for technology to transfer and different climate changes and for heat emission and for the direct investment and the different kind of just companies over here in African countries too. Yes. In addition, mostly of representing this conference is based on the Sharm el-Sheikh COP 2719 says. To try to remove the implementation of mechanisms, therefore promising to find investment sources for the green economy, and the other with us for pushing the countries and the region, world region for a kind of components for the effect to have the crisis that's right now.
Yes. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said agricultural investments in Africa must be increased. How can this be applied while the climate change is challenging agricultural development in the African continent?
Firstly, the Egyptian rule during the summit, as well as we are doing as a leadership for most of the Arab and African countries, representing the role of Egypt actually, and because Egypt really specifically has a unique agenda and the guiding mostly of ideas and increasing the awareness for all leaders of Africa to have like regarding rules toward the negotiation summit, as well as we are talking about that American African summit over here. So actually what we cannot coming from it like Egypt concerning the rule of mechanism, which is get an overview for the outcomes of the summit and figure out just to what we just emphasized about the COP27 summit last month. For how could we, this to pushing the role of cooperation and strengths, just according to different kind of investment and project toward one of the mostly power economic rule at the United States.
Yes. Sir, how do you weigh the outcome of this year's U.S.-Africa summit with regards to the African issues?
Firstly, this summit coming here to make interest of Africa, remind the main limitation of last years and security dimension, and presenting the fighting for different working like tourism, organization, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, or Boko Haram in Nigeria, Somaliland, and movement. That is one of mostly issues talked for during the summit, and the value of trading exchange from United States and Africa toward to increasing more than $63 million, and which is very less than the value of exchange between other superpower like China, with over limited 254 million. So it's taking place to trading partnership, increasing partnership with Africa, with United States, and economically and otherwise, with to figure out how to remind the United States with the summit coming to a framework of policy of enhancing the state of the advantages of passing its witness since the last American summit during Mr. Obama duration 2014, I think, which emphasized about direction of a strained relation between the two parts and security, military, economically supporting, some mostly, stability of political stability inside those countries, and to gain more supporting to African Americans people to make a cooperation between them and figure out to upcoming using this summit for that, because United States side and Mr. Biden try to using this summit to emphasize about how to gaining the votes from African Americans groups inside the United States and making this background according to next election for democratic countries too.
Indeed.
But moreover, this summit, add more, values for the major country all over the world, which are required catalyzing the unified of African vision and achieving completely between different policies of African countries and their economy, political system, and how to maximize their benefits and get more international competition, especially that attracting investment, as we mentioned, and localizing the using of technology and achieving development and importance. Here, the role of Egypt, according to the strength of find a strategy to mobilizing international support for Africa, as just saying the role of Mr. Abdel Fattah Sisi to emphasize about that rule, and in addition to the link between Africa and other world power effective the market for selling products and some commodities of major countries, and find the raw materials too, and the new equation based on it achieving development and proprietary economic empowerment to the role of this country.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is the use of the summit to make a discussion mostly for different aspects of politically issues like tourism and investment, and figure out how to Egypt try also to express African concerning about international forums and issues about the climate change and need for major countries to leading African about this the face to negative effects of climate change on Africa especially, and we need something a framework of climate justice as Mr. Abdel Fattah Sisi emphasized during this summit, and mostly the effect of the changes were really have been reflected increasing drought and desertification and lack of food security, and actually even energy prices, one of other issues talking during the summit, because it also helps to African countries to figure out the new technology for clean energy and the green economy, and what is actually Egypt mostly of time repeated and emphasize to figure out establishing a funding compensed to losers and to some mostly the countries most effective rule in about the climate change, and mostly of African likewise during its presence of African Union and the rule of Egypt during the presidency of African Union during 2019. We had really a great role to have an achievement, many economic achievements, and to mostly notably great African free trade areas, and helping to find the benefits for the partnership economically from with Africa from different kind of our countries.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Mohamed Abdel, Professor of Political Science, thank you so much, sir, for your precious input. And moving to this report, where the Egyptian exports to Africa increased at the faster rate than to the country's total exports to the world. The increase came in an official data released this week. More details in the following story.